Oh,
I am continuing on my life with the Lionesses and women in rugby league, and have finally managed to persuade the lovely Nicholette Postlethwaite in order to come on and tell us her rugby league journey. We've just had a really long chat, and it's been absolutely fascinating. She is just an amazing person. With rugby league, as with a lot of people, being core throughout her life, and really helping and supporting her through some really tough times as well. So Nicolette from one of our Lancashire contingent, hurrah! We haven't got many of you, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Sort of Hindley and Wigan, involved in Lancashire rugby league, and also involved in the 2000s, playing internationally for Great Britain Lionesses, and still on and off playing now. So welcome, Nicolette.
Hi.
So tell us, how did you get involved in rugby league? Obviously, Wigan's a really big rugby league area, so maybe that's a stupid question, but tell us how you got involved in rugby league.
So, yeah, I was always a swimmer. Never really rugby league at all, apart from watching it. Parents kind of split up when I was in school, really. So my stepdad, very, very big in rugby, played himself, played for Wigan, along with Gemma Walsh's dad, actually. Yeah. So
Ow.
I know,
There's a
unbelievable.
pair.
Alan Doran, his name is, and they played together. Touch rugby was taken off in Wigan, actually at Wigan Rugby Union, where Wigan ladies were set up. So I went down there with him, because obviously I didn't really see my dad much at the time, or my brother. So I just went along to the vets training, got really involved with it, started playing touch rugby, went to Australia playing touch rugby actually with
Oh, wow. You didn't tell me that earlier on. You see, you had your light under a bushel.
yeah, so that was amazing. But I was very young, so I couldn't do anything because you needed a passport for everything in Australia. So yeah, come back, just fell in love with the sport and wanted contact. And found out Wigan Hindley had a women's team, which was like, wow, Sarah Roper was actually already playing there. I went to school with her. She never told me. Yeah.
Oh dear. So how old would you have been when you sort of was playing touch rugby and things like that?
I was 15, so I played that for quite a while. Probably just turned 15, and then I just must have turned 16 coming into open age at Wigan Ladies. Sorry, Hindley Pumas.
Yeah. And then you moved into Wigan Ladies, didn't you?
Yeah, eventually moved into Wigan
Eventually,
Ladies.
yeah. And you played with the legend that is Banksy.
Oh, yeah. She used to take me to training sessions like, oh, can you give me a lift? I can't drive.
So what was it like playing then? Because that would have been the 90s, mid-90s and things, wasn't it? What was it like playing?
A very addictive sport. Tough. I think one of my first games I've never tackled in my life. We must have been playing Rochdale and Wendy. You know Wendy, don't you? I can't think of her last name. Sorry,
Wendy
Wendy.
Charnley.
That's the one. I must have gone running, sprinting all the way down the wing because I didn't get started off on the wing. Eventually ended up in the park, but started off on the wing. Went running down, tackled her. I must have gone head first into the private area. She went flying. I had concussion. It was massive memory. Yeah, she's like, bloody hell. Sorry. But yeah, that was
Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah. So really lovely memories of sort of playing in the league and the different teams. And there's a real friendship, isn't there, in the women's rugby league?
Absolutely. It's just obviously what we had, what you did for us at the presentation for GB Lionesses. It was like all the generations. So as the older ones than me coming in, as I was getting older, the younger generations, and it was just, this is our league in this room. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Really lovely, isn't it? Lovely community. So you
God.
started playing and you played for Lancashire. You
Yeah.
were, because there's not many that have well, there are in the GB Lionesses, but it disappeared a bit
Yeah.
in the 2000s. So can you remember much about playing for Lancashire and against
The long,
Yorkshire?
Sorry, yeah. All I remember is the jerseys were absolutely too big for us. And it must have been one of the worst. The weather must have been absolutely horrendous because I remember being head to toe wet through, dripping with mud. Um, yeah, my memory's a bit shocking, but I remember being absolutely drenched, but it was one of the most amazing experience because I look back and all the pictures, I've just got this massive beam on my face, dripping from head to toe in mud. So, you know,
Yeah. And that's the bits you remember, you know, each of us have different memories, and it's lovely because then when you meet like we did on the 9th, you all put it together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? Oh
yeah,
yeah, I remember
yeah,
that.
fill the blanks in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So what was your pathway for playing for Great Britain then?
I am absolutely not got a clue. I am so sorry. I know that Glenys, who was our manager at the time at Hindley, obviously Shaz was already with the GB squad, Jane Banks, massive players there that you looked up to, and you just hoped and prayed that one day you'd be good enough to be alongside him. And I just remember Glenys coming up to me saying, you know, you've been asked to go down and do some training. But that was exactly the same with, you know, the churn in your stomach because, oh my God, is this real? Same with Lancashire, same with, you know, under 18s Great Britain. It's like, I'm actually going down to training session, right? Don't do anything stupid, which I always did anyway, because it comes naturally, tripping over my foot or something, you know, and not really know what's going on, clueless. But yeah, the actual pathway. It's me just remember getting a chat from Glenys, like my manager, just said that you know they want you down training with him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, your pathway is you did Lancashire, you did under 18s, you're in the shop window, you were playing club rugby, and you got
Yeah,
noticed, didn't you?
hopefully, yeah. Well, I must have, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So can you remember much about it in 2000? Because 2000, we now have officially recognised as the first Rugby League World Cup, which is fantastic, which it wasn't. So you know, you were training for that, weren't you? And part and parcel of the squad. And can you
Yeah,
remember much about that? And you probably had to go a lot into Yorkshire for your training, I would imagine.
yeah. Dewsbury stands out quite big for me.
Yeah.
Um, going down to Dewsbury, but I'll tell you what, it the faces that you knew of, that what you saw was like, oh my, you know, I'm trying my best not to swear, but you know, Lisa and Brenda were massive names in women rugby, and then obviously Sally, um, you know, was there, but Jane already was someone that I looked up to anyway because she was in my squad, you know, at Wigan. But it's like, am I really going to be training alongside these people? So you was even more nervous. And it was like quite shy, and I'm not a shy person. For you, so you're like, you know, you're going to be training alongside, and then we had to play a game. I was like, oh my God, I've got to run into Lisa McIntosh. Oh, she's got to knock me on my bottom, and you know, stuff like that. So it was like, yeah, it was very surreal, very
Mm.
surreal.
So were you set training schedules and things like that? And
Yeah, set training schedules, weights and running that we had to do. I think as we progressed, we had bleep tests. How fast you could run in 5 minutes on one of obviously the big running, I don't know, arenas.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very tough. But I think then you'd do anything for the rugby. So you worked for rugby, not the opposite way around. You know, rugby
Mm.
was my life at the time. Didn't drink until I found that I don't stop now. So didn't drink alcohol, you know, everything. Did go on holidays with friends because everything was about rugby. Can't this weekend, I've got training. Can't do that, I've got this, you know. So yeah,
Yeah,
rugby.
yeah, yeah. And you had to raise a bit of money as well, didn't you?
£2,000 each, and then money for the squad. So yeah, it was tough. There was a lot of in like Wigan Today and Observer of our local papers of going out, coming up Nicholette fundraise and stuff like that. My mum had a schedule, and writing off letters and yeah.
Oh, fantastic. How lovely is that?
Letters that she used to write off to companies, and I think it was the local companies that helped me out more rather than the big companies. So
Yeah. So real community spirit to get you into the squad. Yeah. So you toured in 2002, didn't you, to Australia?
these pimples now we're talking about it. It
Oh,
was
wow.
a lot of plane tickets and little things. And when we got to Australia, in the stadium, it's probably changed that name now. Sorry, I've
The
struggled to.
the big Sydney Stadium. Yeah. It has. I can't remember the name of it actually, but yes.
A lot of little things that we had over there that I was looking to when you got us all together, and you started, trying to get us back involved with Great Britain Lionesses. I just got all my stuff out. It was like all these little pieces of paper and receipts that I kept that I was actually bought a jersey over in Australia, and it was like, wow.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Have you been showing your kids it?
He's proud, but she's not rugby, and she's teenager. But Darcy does rugby tots, and we're trying to get her involved now. So she's more sporty. The eldest is like anti-sport, dead proud of mum, but anti-sport. But the little one, yeah, it's all there for her to have a look at.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You should be so proud of yourself. So what was it like on the 2002 tour? It's a pretty special tour, that Australia tour, from what I've been talking to about the people that went on it.
I was a man, and I know I probably shouldn't say that, but if I was a boy at the time, that would be my life, and it was the most amazing experience that you go through life having amazing experiences. And it's very difficult because obviously you have kids, which is I can't put that into words because some people can't, and it's amazing of having children and what they bring in your life, but you can never top that being in Australia as if you were a professional of eating, sleeping, training, playing rugby, and having little other experiences of journeys on the way. I think it was in Canberra, and was in this like little, I think it was a pub where we was all going for meals and stuff. And one of the guys come in with his truck and said, it was pitch black, by the way, absolutely pitch black outside, beautiful because the alt stars, moon, whatnot. But he come in and said, some of you, if you want to come on the truck, I'll take you to see the kangaroos. Wow. So open back truck, big spotlights on the truck, holding on to it, like up and down, going all over the field. He literally put his spotlights on, and it was like hundreds of kangaroos just literally running across the field. It's like, oh my goodness, where'd you see this? It's like being in like on a field, in a farmer's field with a lot of rabbits just running, but they're not the kangaroos. It was just little experiences that you had along the way as well.
Yes.
To play on some of the most amazing arenas for rugby stadiums, should I say? Yeah, it's
Yeah. And I just imagine I had this big dread that he'd come to kidnap the Great Britain women so they couldn't beat the Australians in the back of his truck and dumped you in the desert.
okay, we just go anywhere, gullible. No, but yeah, can't top little things like that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. You're then one of our amazing women who had children, and then kept involved in playing afterwards. It always amazes me. I know Vicky Molyneux. I look at, she had a baby, and then 7 years later, she's, ripping up trees, playing for England. 7 or 8 years later, I think, and I think, wow, you women are amazing. You're able to have it. So you had a child in sort of 2003, your first, but then you continue playing in club level and various other things.
I think I told you before. me and rugby have had a bit of intermittent life experience, I suppose. It's been there for me when I've needed it to be. And when it's not been there, it's been a very difficult time in my life. So I think just shortly after my first daughter was born, so just come back from New Zealand, Australia, fell pregnant. So we come back in the August 2003, around Christmas time. I must have fell pregnant. Was training for the World Cup in New Zealand in 2003. They're all flying off to New Zealand, and I had a baby in October. However, not long after that, I was diagnosed with bipolar. Before that, struggled all my life on and off with mental health, and a lot of us do. I think the game kept me alive at times in my life and kept me on a path which I might not be on now. It has its own little problems, and we're not being able to play rugby now. But yeah, it kept me, I suppose, sane and well when I needed to be well. I suppose.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And thank you for sharing that, because I mean, a lot of people really resonate with that, you know, and your mental health does go up and down, and you have periods of really great wellness. But, you know, when you do have mental health issues, you know, you have to take that time out and look after yourself as well, don't you? Which is really important as well. So, and I know sport can just be great for that, and the comradeship and the friendship that rugby league can bring. And I know when we met in Wigan a couple of weeks ago, actually face to face, and it was just lovely watching you go look at the exhibition and celebrate your achievements, because I don't think we do that often enough, do we?
The most amazing thing I've seen in a long time. I think what you've done, and you put that together, I literally was, my heart was just bursting with pride, obviously, for all the girls and pictures that I've not seen, for what you'd done for us. But the memories, the overwhelming memories, it was just flooding black. I just had to try and stop myself from crying, because there's like other people around. It was like, oh God, typical.
But this is what this project's been about as well now. So, I mean, you've always engaged with rugby league in some way. So when you stopped playing, you started coaching and then put your boots back on. But now you're back, possibly, you know, engaging in the local community, aren't you, because of this project?
Try and start helping girls down there, which I can, obviously trying to juggle work and kids. I think what I'm trying to do is help the kids have the experience of maybe what I had, but also wanting my 3-year-old to have that as well, to have as many opportunities that she can possibly get. The eldest is like, not sporty, but the little one is. She already plays rugby talks, you know. I don't want to push her in any avenue that she doesn't want to go, but to have them opportunities and people around her that I had. Yeah, that, don't want to take that away from anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so important, isn't it, that we are given that opportunity as women. So because so often, you know, in our era, it was girls can't do that, but now girls can do anything, can't they? And the Rugby League World Cup's really inspired so many, and this project's just come in lovely with that, so that you can all go and inspire the next generation, which is great.
Women can't do that. Okay, watch us. Let's prove to you what we can and cannot do. And I think that's been something that I've said all my life. Watch me.
Yeah, you have. Oh, Nicholette, thank you. And thank you so much for coming on. And thank you for sharing a bit of your journey, particularly around the mental health and well-being, because I think, you know, it's often not spoken about, and actually it's real and it's there. And the more we speak about it, the more we can deal with it, and the more we can take it on and help each other to deal with it as well, can't we? You are an amazing woman. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, because we didn't really know each other before this, and I look forward to us working together a lot more in the future in Rugby League.